onto the sort of like concentrated. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
add a load of sugar.
Yeah. So we have ours is called squash. So I think I changed a lot of water. Even if I were to like have a takeaway one day, I wouldn't be ordering fizzy drinks with it. It would be like, okay, let me have a pizza today, but I'm gonna have water because water is for me just life. I can't get enough water now. So I guess the biggest diet change is for me was drinking a lot of water, and I guess managing. I mean, having diabetes doesn't mean you can't have the sugar donut or the pizza, but it's less often and your portions are different. So maybe your portion sizes change, and maybe you do make the decision. Okay, I won't have that sugar donut today because I had something yesterday or something else today. So having diabetes is a thing. It never leaves your mind. Like it's since I've had it, there's not been a moment I've forgotten about it.
Wow.
Constantly on my mind because everything I do now has to relate back to my diabetes. So from what I eat, from even like traveling, I got to make sure I got my pens with me, my needles. I had to make sure if I'm going somewhere, is the foods I can eat, which is good for me. I got to check my sugars multiple times a day, waking up throughout the day, before I go to sleep. It's never, it never leaves. It's never left my mind. Every decision I've made since has always related back to my diabetes in some way, shape, or form. Even from like applying for job roles. How can this job role accommodate my diabetes? If it's a thing where I can't have breaks, I got to work 12 hours straight, then it isn't the job for me. And I don't know how the laws work in America. It's actually illegal. You have to make provisions for someone that's and stuff like that.
Well, here you can't work past like 4.5 or 5 hours without a break here. That's the law.
I think I think ours might be a bit more. I think it's like 6. I think
Oh, okay.
it might be 6. But again, if you've got someone that's got a health issue where they got to take breaks, maybe have a water or check their sugars or get their sugars up by eating something, it's illegal to not provide accommodation for that. Even such things as, where you go with your friends, restaurants, even down to relationships you get into. It's like the person you want to be with or you're getting to know what have you, you don't throw it on them straight away, but are you the type of person that's gonna, understand and make these small adjustments for you because of your condition? Like, make sure they've got water in their house for if you come round and not pressure you or force you to eat certain things because they want to eat it. So it's never, for me anyway, it's never ever left my mind because I refuse to let it leave my mind because I'm one of the luckiest people in the world where I'm managing it well.
Yeah.
But I'm not ignorant to the fact that the honeymoon period doesn't last forever. I'm pretty sure at some point in my life, I'm going to hit a block with this where I'm going to struggle, have some sort of complication to where I need to fight for my life. So I don't
do you
allow...
feel that weighs heavy on you to wake up every day and think, well, is this the day that I'll struggle? Is this the day that things are going to not be so easy? How does that affect your emotional health?
I mean, again, it's even especially in the Black community, mental health it's never ever something that's discussed or seen taken seriously. Growing up, mental health, like get on with it, stop crying, get on with it, pray, whatever, get over it, type thing. So it is a burden. I read somewhere that people with diabetes are 4 times more likely to suffer from mental health problems because of their diabetes.
Wow.
So I guess I wouldn't say I've mentally. It's frustrating. I've been frustrated with it at times. Like, oh, I don't want to take insulin right now, or don't want to do this right now. I don't want to check my sugars right now, or maybe I've just eaten and my sugars are low, so now I have to eat again. And then when you eat on a full stomach, you don't want to eat.
Wow.
So it can be frustrating. I wouldn't say that I've had any depression over it and stuff like that. But it is a burden. It can be a big burden. And there's times where I've kind of felt mentally this is something I don't want to do no more. It becomes a chore in a way. It feels like a chore. Okay, I have to wake up to take my insulin shots. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Before I eat, I've got to do this. I've got to check how many carbs it has, how many sugars it has. I've got to add it up. If I go to a restaurant, I just figure out, okay, I've got to download the restaurant's nutrition list and go through the calories and the carbs. And it can be long and frustrating where before I sit down to have a meal with people, say friends, they've got one step, pick something to eat and eat it. Before I eat it, I've got 5 steps in between. So it can be frustrating. And I've had frustrating moments. I wouldn't say I've had any sort of like depression or anything. Which kind of is like what's surprising to me. I remember whenever you go to the doctors and you do your sort of like checkups and stuff, and they ask you questions. They ask you, do you feel suicidal? When I first got asked that question, I thought, why would I feel suicidal?
Right.
And it was like, you'd be surprised. Like, this disease is not going away. Right. It's a part of you. And some people can't deal with that and get over that fact. And I remember the first time I had a friend who's got diabetes, and they told me that they've given up, like, not taking the insulin anymore, just going to eat. And it does affect if you don't control it correctly, it does affect your eyesight, where you can go blind. And she was already sort of seeing those effects. And even then she was like, no, I'm sick and tired of having this. I'm going to eat what I like and enjoy my life and just go out smiling. And this person was younger than me saying this.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
I was like, I understand the mental side of it that can come with it. So again, going to the gym and drinking water and staying active and busy kind of takes my mind off of it a little bit. Where
and probably doing things like this too, to kind of like share your experience, it makes it worthwhile, right? Like beyond just yourself, you're like, I'm going through this, but through this I can help other people.
No, correct. And yeah, it's why it's something so good. Any conversation about diabetes is a good one, especially with other Black people, because I feel like we're probably the most prone and at the same time the most ignorant to it. Where we have a feeling of what it is. What's diabetes? Too much sugar, but don't know the kind of full extent to it. Right. Like I didn't know having diabetes, you can go blind from it. I thought I knew you could lose an arm for it or a leg from it if it's not controlled properly. Never knew you can go blind. Never knew you could be slim and healthy and work out and still get it. Never knew that there was a type 1 or a type 2. I thought it was just diabetes. All these things I didn't know. I knew the word diabetes and what it could possibly mean, but there was no actual in-depth knowledge to it until I actually got it. And I felt that effect from people around me. When I got it, they didn't know.
So did you have to work hard to educate yourself, or are there a lot of things available to you through medical facilities and insurances and programs and stuff like that? Do they teach you a lot, or did you feel like you were on your own?
So when I got diagnosed and I was at the hospital, they gave me the quickest crash course into it. Very, very quick. Here's this pen. Here's this pen. Here's what they mean. Here's what they do. Here's how they inject it. Off you go. But then they gave me the option to do like sort of like new diabetes type of support groups and stuff like that. So I did a few of that, and they're assigned to like a diabetic nurse who you see every few months to discuss your process and stuff like that. But other than that, especially if you're the only person in your family, especially if you're an adult getting it, because normally getting diabetes traditionally is as a child, and then you grow up with it. When you're an adult, already independent with work and stuff, you pretty much are on your own and stuff like that, especially if you're living in a family that hasn't got it or isn't educated about it. So you are pretty much, I was pretty much by myself. So again, I got the lucky straw because I dealt with it so well. I was able to like pick myself up and learn, do my research and figure things out for myself, whereas someone else in my shoes may have thought, okay, I'm by myself, it's alone, there's no one to help me, I'm struggling, and just feel yourself isolating yourself from the world because of it. But there are times when it's like you get invited to go out, and I say to myself, I'm not going out. I really can't be asked to do the whole song and dance of going out, figuring out what to eat, do I don't want to eat, or if someone asks you, do you want to drink? You say no, and you go ask, oh, why do you want to drink? And then you got to explain why you don't want to drink. And it's like, oh, you're diabetic. Oh, how was that? You got to do the whole concert. And it's like, you know, there's sometimes where I just know it's happening. So, you know what? I can't be asked today to go through the whole movie of things. So I'm just going to stay home and be by myself. So, yeah, there are times when you do feel alone because at the end of the day, it's your body and it's your disease. And only you can pretty much save your life, really. The doctors can't force you to take insulin, can't force you to eat well, can't force you to drink water, can't force you to work out. All they can do is deal with the problems after the fact. So it pretty much is your own battle to fight. And it can be a lonely one, but, you know, it's a fight we're fighting, and it isn't all doom and gloom, really and truly.
Well, definitely not. I mean, listening to your success, if you're just now tuning in, we're here with Kalex from the UK. He was so gracious enough to join us. He lives in London, England, and it is after midnight there. So I'm very grateful. And Dr. Jones, Dr. Sylvia Jones is an optometrist, and she says, you know, you make sure you get your yearly exams. I'm reading some of the comments there. And yes, we need to take it serious. It is a big deal. And what would you say is the easiest part for you with your battle with diabetes?
The easiest part, ooh, I guess the easiest part would be right now is the injections, which is the weirdest part because
Right.
growing up, I hate injections. The
I
ones you
didn't
get in
expect that
school,
answer.
the ones you get in school, the flu jab, all of those. I used to hate injections, like very, very much hated it. And I remember being in the hospital when they're teaching you to inject yourself. I thought, there's no way I'm going to do this 3, 4, 5 times a day just to eat, you know? And funny enough, it's like, it is the most easiest thing for me. I can just whip it out, do it, and it's over and done with.
And do you still take insulin 4 and 5 times a day? Do you have to stick?
Yeah, so Yeah, so
Wow.
I take one shot, which is like it's the long lasting one, which lasts 24 hours. So they call it the baseline, and then or they call it slow acting insulin. And then I've got my fast acting insulin, which I take before every meal. So if I'm eating, if you got breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe snacks in between, that's easily 6 times a day. And that's, yes, easy 6 injections. Whereas growing up, I used to hate doing one. And that was the doctor giving it to me.
Right.
Now I've got to do it myself 6 times a day. I thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to do this. And plus, I've got to check my sugar levels. So I've got to prick myself and draw blood. So all this pricking and prodding, you got to do yourself is the easiest part for me, which I thought would be what I struggled with. But I guess that's just like repetition and getting over the fear of needles because, again, I have to do this. If I don't do this, I'm going to die. So, what's your options here? You don't do it or you do it. So for me, I guess that's the easiest part. I don't know if other diabetics are going to agree with that, but for me...
this is your story. This is your experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for me, that's the easiest part.
So you mentioned relationships and dating earlier. In your earlier stages or even now, had you had any experiences that you wanted to share? I know you talked about something that was quite funny in our pre-interview.
Yeah, so was on it was, I think it was around the time when I first downloaded Tinder. Tinder was brand new at this point. Let's try it out. So it was on this date, and because at the time I had it but didn't know, so I was getting all these symptoms, going to the toilet quite often. And again, at this point, it's normal to me. I go to the toilet a lot. That's it. But because I had accepted it, doesn't mean other people didn't think it was weird. And they did think it was weird. So I was on this date going back and forth to the toilet constantly, and I'm thinking it's fine, but I guess to her is a lot. And to be fair, it was a lot. It was a crazy amount of time back and forth. I remember it was in an arcade, so like we're just like drinking and trying to play the arcade games, and keeping going back and forth to the toilet kind of messed up the flow of the games and stuff. So I guess there was quite a long period of time where she's on this date with this person she doesn't really know that well yet, and she's by herself quite a lot because I'm in the toilet quite often. So I had this date. It didn't quite continue after that until I spoke to her again a month later, and now I had been diagnosed with diabetes. So it's like, I think I said along the lines, you didn't really keep communication with me afterwards. What was wrong? And she was like, you went to the toilet quite a lot during our date, so I thought you was doing drugs. And I just had to laugh because I could see it from a point of view. It's like, you know what? I would probably think that as well. I used to work in security in nightclubs. And that is how we used to spot people doing drugs.
Yeah.
Back and forth to the toilet. So of course she thought I was doing drugs. I didn't tell her I was diabetic. I didn't want to make her feel guilty about it. But I was like, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. It makes sense. I wasn't doing drugs, by the way. I see why you felt that. I remember one time when so I was still going through university studies, and I pulled out my insulin pen and my needles in the library and heroin. Yeah. What else is that? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You still get with me, where I'm just so confident in myself, I don't mind doing my injections in public. But it's quite funny to see people that are, again, unaware of things, seeing this person on the train just injecting this liquid into their body. And it's like, how is this guy doing drugs so openly on the train,
But I think that speaks volumes to what you were saying earlier. And my whole point in this, I know some people may feel like, oh, I don't need to listen to this because diabetes doesn't run in my family. It doesn't affect me. But it was actually your coworker who
Yeah.
encouraged you to go to the doctor. I mean, I feel like the more people that know about the symptoms of diabetes and other health conditions, we can help each other. You know what I mean? We can know how to interact with people and help each other as well. So I think that, I hope that the word gets out to people about what diabetes is and how to support those out there with diabetes. So let's see. Looking for questions. Let me see this. Find this here. You guys, if you have questions, feel free to post, and we'll try to take a few questions here.
Yeah.
Give it a few minutes. While you post a few questions, I am going to just do a few thank yous.
Cool. I think I've seen one question.
Okay.
When you're from an Ambria Miko,
Mikalache.
I'm gonna mess that name all the way up.
It's okay.
Ambria. When you're on dates, how soon do you share that you have diabetes? Do you want to answer it now?
Sure. Well,
how? That's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. So what I try to kind of do is before you actually go on this initial date with someone, you're obviously going through the talking stage. And I try and wiggle it into conversation some way, shape, or form. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm just whipping out a needle during a date and then having to explain there and then why I've got this needle before dessert. Could be quite frightening to someone that has no idea. So I guess I try and do it before I get to, the first date. That's the best way to probably do it. And it's worked so far. And I guess it's like, again, when you're talking to someone before you go on this date, you kind of want to know how they are and how they react to things. So, it's quite impressive if someone knows about diabetes already, because normally the conversation is they don't know anything about it. But if you tell someone you've got diabetes and they know, oh yeah, I've got an aunt who has it and she takes insulin and does her needle and stuff like that, it's quite impressive to have knowledge about it anyway. So I guess before the first date, I would advise you bring it up in conversation, find a way. If you can't find a way, then I guess just lay it on thick. I have diabetes, I got to do this, whatever. So at least when you get to the dating stage where you're actually meeting up, it doesn't feel weird to pull out a pen. And sometimes they want to say, oh, they want to look at it and see what it does. And a lot of people are squeamish about it and don't want to see you do it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is something you have to earlier, sooner better than later, not because someone's going to say, oh, you got diabetes, I don't want to be with you. It's just that they don't know anything about it. So when you just start doing diabetic things around them, checking your blood sugars, pricking yourself, putting out a needle, stabbing yourself, that's all they're going to see. They're going to see you pull out a needle and stab yourself. And that, especially on the first date, is going to be very, very crazy. So sooner better than later is the best thing. it's if you again, I'm quite confident to do it anyway. If you feel
Yeah.
shy about it, there is no easy way. You just gotta dive in and sort of let them know that you're diabetic. And I haven't found it hard to sort of bring up. I mean, when you talk to someone, you normally ask how your day was, what have you eaten. So it's pretty easy to work into conversation anyway. But it's
Yeah.
definitely something I'd say earlier on. You can't get 6 months in hiding it and then tell someone you got diabetes because it's unfair to them, really. Because, and you know, you're not doing yourself justice because it would be nice if the person you're trying to see and be with makes adjustments for your condition.
Mm.
And it kind of helps you to see their nurturing side and their caring side. So it's good to give them an opportunity to how would they react. Because if this does turn into something where it's long term, it's you've got diabetes, but it's now going to affect their life because they might have to change how they think towards you, what they bring into the house, what kind of foods they bring around and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But normally when I tell someone got diabetes, the first thing they think is like they say, "Oh my days, I can't believe I gave you 2 sugars in your tea." Like, why didn't you tell me stuff like, you know what I mean? It's like they automatically, especially women, they automatically take on the role of your nurse,
Uh-huh.
and decide, oh, you've got diabetes, so now it's my job to take care of it. It's my job to make sure you're taking your insulin. It's my job to make sure you're checking your sugars and you're eating well, which is nice. But at the same time, you've got to remind them that I had this before you and it's still my job to look after myself, you know?
So, tell me this, the insulin pump, have you heard of that?
Yeah, I don't have one, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yes. Is that
Yeah.
very prevalent over there, people using insulin pumps?
So you normally get given an insulin pump if you're struggling with your management of diabetes.
Okay.
Whereas I'm not, I'm happy to inject myself when I need to. Um, you gotta make a case to get one.
Mm.
So my case will be pretty weak because I'm pretty good at taking my insulin anyway. But people that are struggling to take it, where their sugar levels are still very, very high, you get a pump, which is basically it it, it injects the insulin for you, depending on your sugar levels at the time. So it checks your sugar levels and injects you with insulin how and when you need it. It can be convenient. It would be convenient to my life to have one. But at the same time, it's like, I guess everything comes with issues. So when I'm thinking, oh, it'll be so nice to not be able to inject myself, I'm pretty sure like people that have pumps have their own issues with the pump that I'm not aware of.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people complain about it getting caught on doors and it ripping out your stomach and stuff like that. So in this country, if you want to get one on the health service, it's mainly if you're struggling to control your diabetes. I've met a few people that have it and it makes their life easier, but again, they're kind of struggling, so that's good for them. I don't think I need one or would want one, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy to just have the pens and tuck them away as and when I need them. Whereas the insulin pump is there, so it's like it's out in the open. And as a diabetic, you don't always want to have the diabetes conversation. It can get very tiring to repeat it over and over again.
Yeah.
But where we've got an insulin pump, people are going to see it and always, oh, what is that? Why have you got that? And you can't hide it. So I guess, when the downside would be you're now forced to always have this conversation about what is this pump attached to your hip. Whereas I can hide my pen and go a whole day with no one even know I'm diabetic and stuff like that.
So we have another question from Maisha Johnson. She is a nurse practitioner, and it says, "Have you ever had one of those moments or days where you were frustrated and being careful? I'm sorry, frustrated with being careful and just didn't?" And if so, what were the consequences? So one of those days where you're just like, I'm not counting carbs, I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything, I'm just YOLO today.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get those. I guess when you get to a place of where you're comfortable and complacent, where you're like, I've been managing it so well for a period of time. Who cares? What's gonna happen if I eat this one slice of bread and not have insulin? Like, what's the worst that can happen? Because you just can't be asked getting up and injecting yourself, especially because normally, again, 9 times out of 10, the injections don't hurt. But you might have that one day where every injection has hurt.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, oh, I got this again for this slice of toast or for this slice of pizza. I can't be asked today. I'm frustrated with the pain today. So I'm going to have this pizza and toast or whatever and not take my insulin, which I guess on the smaller scale of things may not be a big deal. But again, you're always gambling when you do that. Who knows that might be the time where you fall into a diabetic coma because your sugars are too high. You know, especially like, which is quite a scary moment is, you know, when you go to sleep. I can manage my sugars while I'm awake. When I'm asleep now, it's just down to my body now. So if my sugars drop or go too high while I'm asleep, anything can happen. I could not wake up. And that could be down to the fact where I had the pizza before going to bed and didn't take insulin because I was too frustrated not to do it. So you're rolling the dice with it. You could fall into a coma. That could be the slice of pizza that kicks off the blindness and stuff like that. And again, it's a habit. If you get into the habit, it's only one pizza. Let me not do it. It repeats itself, and then the damage builds and builds and builds and builds. So I would advise it really isn't worth the risk. I never take my good health right now for granted because, you know, there's gonna be days and times where I'm gonna struggle, and there are times where like my sugars are just high, and no matter what I do that day, they don't lower. And it's never good to have high sugars. So the consequences with diabetes is very, very severe. If you do take even the slightest of risks, which I don't advise you do at all.
Well, I really, really, really enjoyed our conversation today. I think you gave some very poignant information and perspective. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for watching. Um, I'm just grateful that people are willing to come and have a seat and spend time with us as we learn together and share together about this topic that's near and dear to me. So please share the video. Also, if you watch this video and you do something that changes your life, or you make some life changes, I should say, I want you to share with us. And you can hashtag it I greater than diabetes. So hashtag I the sign greater than diabetes. If you decided you're going to drink more water, if you decided you're going to take a walk every day or one day, whatever it is, if you take action based on seeing this video today, let us know about it, because we need to know that this is making a difference. And we want to encourage everyone out there that is uh, trying to make a change with their health. So, do you have any final words?
I would say, because we're in the current times, everyone stay safe, stay indoors, wash your hands,
Yes.
Protect yourself, protect your family. We save ourselves at the end of the day. If we rely on government, is a political rant, we rely on the government or whatever too much, we get complacent. End of the day, like with diabetes, we save ourselves. So protect yourselves, do what's best for yourself, your family, your kids, and what have you. And yeah, just enjoy yourself as much as you can in the process, really.
Yeah.
And thank you as well for this
Oh,
brilliant talk opportunity. It's very, very great what you're doing. You look great today.
thank you.
So yeah, thank you. It's been an honor to share my story today.
Yes, I'm grateful for without a guest, there's no show. So thanks again. And you guys meet us back on my page tomorrow at 7 p.m. And we will be talking to Valerie Burton. She's a type 2 diabetic as well as a nurse who is a lead at Diabetes Education and Care Center. So we're going to hear her story and get her perspective as well. So meet me back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And like I said, spread the word and thank you guys so much.